I wanted to record a small video about a recent experience that I had and that got me maybe revisiting some of my decisions about how I'm spending my time, where and with whom. There is often a delay between our experience and the whole process and realization of what we've been involved with, especially in terms of energies. And sometimes it takes a while before the truth kind of computes with us. Recently, before a meeting with a health practitioner who is fire creation, I commanded all energies and all intentions actually to be revealed. And during the meeting, I had access to through clair abilities. You know, it's difficult to explain exactly how you feel with them, but I had access. It felt like a movie a little bit, where you get access into someone's eyes, and through that you see the dimensions. And in this case, I've seen that this person was barely there, that she was really disconnected, and that her presence was maybe a little bit like a smoldering presence. So after this meeting, I could make more sense of all the signals and signs that I had picked up, that I had noticed. Of course, I was noticing the deep MK Ultra programming this person was under. But until seeing that with my clair ability, sensing that, I have to say that maybe I thought that this person could have had potential to break through her programming. And at that moment, I realized that no, there were bigger reasons for her not to break her programming. And she also was starting to be used negatively against me, which she had been after that session, because I think energetically they can feel when you're withdrawing energetically. And that's a time when, you know, people can get really triggered to send you triggers. And what is really interesting is that I did a scan for this person just a few weeks earlier, and I had kind of dismissed a red flag that I've seen in her scan because I thought I knew her. I had seen that she's being recently recruited, that she accepted agreements in the gang stalking programs. And not a long time ago, she's been exactly used for that purpose in my life, which was a great confirmation about some of these items that I programmed in the Now Genius app that I've been working with. So when I seen that, I didn't openly share about it in the scan that I was recording, but I took a screenshot and I kept it in my mind. And it's very useful information that makes a lot more sense now. So of course, we're going to see a lot of MK Ultra signatures all around us, because all fire creation beings, all the reals have been through the MK Ultra programs, are being MK Ultra in their daily life, and must be resisting in spirit if they want to design a creative life full of wonders. And for that, you really have to navigate the extreme engineering here, of course, and be smart about it, be wise about it. In my case, I could have saved myself a few afternoons visiting that practitioner And it's always the question, what can we do with that time that we have? It's just having that time and these resources, because it's an investment, financial investment, that you can kind of redirect to your maybe basic needs or wherever it's needed in your life. I remember that during one of my first meeting with that female practitioner, I wanted to cross my arms around my heart. And this is someone who pretends to have a great, great heart, but it's not the purest heart that you will find with someone who is under deep MK Ultra programming and kind of perpetuating being used as a handler herself, because that's often what it turns to be. So anyone who is not doing their shadow work constantly is generally being recruited to be used as a handler. And they usually have no awareness of this, no consciousness. They just follow their own personal triggers. They are usually so very handled themselves that they turn to be also a handler for others. So that's the supreme quality of anyone who wants to walk in the path of the healer here, is to do their shadow work so they can be the best version of themselves for others who also are very motivated on this path. And I bring this example because it always amazes me how we dismiss many, many signals. We find justification, rationalization, and all of this has to do with mind control, because it's like your mind cannot fully compute and stop and say, and take a moment. It's like these signals, they just pass you through and pass you through until you get really like a really warning sign, and then you kind of can revisit everything you've seen so far about this person. So often I realize that about me, and maybe it will resonate with some of you who I know are listening and tuning in, is this reflection that I made for myself. Like, I don't need to go to these practitioners that are not awake to so many layers of the MK Ultra programs and of themselves being fractured, themselves having alters. And I often interact with their alters, or some are used to insert weird things and they're not fully aware of it. So in the end, I just thought it was wise to redirect the way I was spending my time, my resource, and my energy. And that my new standard now, I mean, my standard up to now was that, I mean, I went through different phases, and you might have heard me on this channel that in the past I was consulting backdrop practitioner for something like massage. But at some point I stopped doing that because I just could feel just the yucky energy, the nonsense energy, and it just didn't feel right. So I thought I could work with some fire creation practitioner only to realize that now my new standard is that it would have to be someone who already has done quite a bit of shadow work, who knows about these layers. I hope I don't forget this standard, this new standard of mine. We can forget, that's why it's also great to have it on video sometime. And something I realized about these 3 practitioners that I was consulting, and each of them have had their own profiles, and this is something that I will break down in detail in one of my future modules. But none of them was really encouraging my solar plexus radiation here. It was more toward repression. One of them was actually draining my energy. One was inserting weird things, reprogramming the meridian line according to some covert and dark agendas. So it's really interesting what we are sometimes spending our time doing, seeking healing outside of ourselves again. And all these experiences have been very interesting. I've been seeing and learning new things about these beings while observing them. And it's very interesting how this particular meeting that I'm mentioning, what it led me to. And it led to this practitioner sending me an ego trigger. I felt that it was just hitting one of these trigger points in my field. Can actually feel if you have these trigger points around you. And something I've noticed is that I didn't go into any of these layers of victimhood frequencies, which was great. I also remember what I saw with my senses when I accessed other dimensions, and I've seen her like a shadow of herself, like barely there. And of course, I already had noticed the heavy sex kitten programming. She was active in her sex kitten, not often when I was interacting with her, because I was not bringing that in her, but how she presents herself on the public scene. You can find this signature. And one time I interviewed her, and she also went into that kind of signature persona. And she also, I've seen different altars of hers when during the sessions. I've seen her switching altars, not only when greeting me, but also when she was doing some work with me. It was manual work. So it's not always easy, because a lot of frequencies are cloaking here, because each case is very unique, and you might have some light that you see, and you cannot dismiss seeing the light, but it's important to see the rest as well. Another reminder maybe is that anyone who's not aware of how the mind is being affected, and the MK Ultra programs can be used to sabotage you, or to target different things, to target your nervous system, or just to distract you. And this practitioner, she had every time, I mean, I learned it quite fast that everything she would recommend was really low frequency. She is tuned to all the matrix frequencies. I never found anything of interest, and it was kind of evident to me. And people sometimes believe in their version of reality so much that they can be used against you to be convincing. So I noticed there was gaslighting here and there, and I excused it, giving it a chance. I really like to be taking these violations for my own upgrading and up-leveling here. And I do, even when random people send me a trigger that might have a bit of truth in it. I just dismiss this person, generally block them, but I will keep in mind the bit of truth that's been shared, even if it was in a triggering way, to become a better version of myself and to unlock more within me and reveal more of my own signature and what I'm doing here, why I'm here. And I like to come back to my own version of reality. It's the one that feels good to me, and I think every one of us should come back to our own, keep coming back to our own version of reality. This is the safest place for us to be, to grow. So it's always interesting, and I really like for it to be revealed in my either close circle or, you know, my extended circle of beings I interact with here and there. It's always interesting how the entrapment, the programming, and the derailment come back in the game. And in this case of this practitioner, this is someone who is not aware that she's being used in the SSP secret space program in sex kitten mission, and that's kind of bleeding through her daily life here, and also being activated by different handlers, one of them being her handler backdrop spiritless partner, who also has this sex kitten backdrop synthetic signature to him. So I noticed that when you interact with a fire creation being where their lives are filled with simulation and they have no discernment, they don't know about the spiritless. They just interact with the spiritless as if they were real. And I mean, I've just changed so much my ways of just protecting some energy, just because I know these people, like some people I'm interacting with, are not real. So just not gonna take their needs so much in consideration. So when their life are filled with simulation and they have no discernment, it's a long journey through the jungle that you're doing with them, and they are in the darkness. And I had seen the spiritless and the AI all around this practitioner. I mean, every time I was seeing someone in the waiting room, it was a spiritless person that I could straight ahead identified by looking in their eyes, because I see AI. I was seeing AI already there. So I reflected back on these practitioners that maybe I found on a DuckDuckGo research, or even using Google. And these are not organic ways to connect and network. And of course, the results are going to be filtered. It's about what's being allowed in your reality, at least using these devices. And you have many reals who have some light, but still work completely for the cabal and under cabal orders. So it's really a crazy reality to navigate here. And I know it is for you, the one I make these videos for as well. Like every day has its share of ups and downs. And it's always interesting to keep on building a relationship with someone until you realize that the degree of mind control, infiltration, just is too much. And it's just, once I saw what I saw, I already knew that I wouldn't be back, and that I withdraw my energy. This person, of course, was kind of feeling it. And that's when she sent her, that was the most direct attack that she ever sent. Then I picked up also layers of jealousy, of course, something quite common as well that we are dealing here with, and herself being quite triggered. And sometimes we know it on the surface, it kind of seems okay, but underneath they are deep, subtle layers. And it's another lesson of just recalibrating how I'm spending my time. And I'm quite devoted to be spending it with beings who are willing, who are integrating their alters, who are not switching alters all the time. And I also take this opportunity to remind myself and you who are listening to always command, to see, sense exactly what you're dealing with at all moments. And the answer is going to come, and you don't need anybody exterior for that. And for anyone of these beings choosing to live in their lowest altars, to reside there, it is their choice. But for me, it is exhausting to deal with the gaslighting and New Age denial and their selfish way of behaving due to their alters being quite active and making selfish choices. So not only I'm not working with AI practitioners anymore, but for the moment, I'm kind of not working with any of these manual biocreation practitioners either, because all of them had their serious weaknesses and entry point that were starting to bleed through in my reality. What's the point of being gaslit, reprogrammed, just to chase a moment that could be, maybe there would be a sweet moment, but it's not seated in this higher this higher sense of love that is way different than all the 3D kind of love that we can find here. So there is not so much that is not distraction and handling, but these relationships, you recognize them because they are genuine. They are not putting on a role. And I'm always happy to see the real core of what I'm truly dealing with. And I often ask for it. And it's been a while, I'm aware of how important it is to being very specific about who we are allowing in my life, in our lives, in our close circles, also in our sub-intimate circles. And I'm pretty good at reading frequency signatures, though, of course, I always have my blind spots. But I'm getting better and better at it. And I'm getting better and better at not dismissing my first impressions or all the things that I'm picking up. And I'm getting better and better at picking up the signatures of covert handling and also active MK Ultra handling and active MK Ultra signatures. And it's okay if many are in denial and choosing to reside in their new age, fake, false positive concepts. It is my choice to limit my exposure to these lower ways. So it's always very interesting to just process new layers of covert handling. And it's a great reminder about these relationships in my life and maybe in your life as well, where these people, your allies, your true allies, they cannot be accessed because they are resisting or because they truly love you. And these are rare, but they definitely are there around. They exist. They are there to find on the game map. And it's good to remember that we have been trained through the MK Ultra programs not to trust ourselves. That's why we are trained to ignore all the small signals that we are perceiving. And then when you get the bigger picture, you might even feel a little silly, as it's like so evident now. And I was watching just some of these Revelation movie, and I appreciated this quote about these beings in your life who are always attempting to evoke an emotional response, a trigger in you, just to get you back on these rails of reaction, of ego triggering. And I really appreciate how I get faster and faster at getting these triggers out of my field. Not engaging in this silly interface. And with commanding for everything to be revealed in terms of intention, in terms of what we're really dealing with every day with each individual. It can be a backdrop, spiritless. It can be many different variations of a real person, because even in the real people, the percentage of who you're going to get along with is going to be quite a small percentage in comparison to all that is possible. And with these comments, we of course have to be ready for what comes our way from the battlefield. And the more you get higher and higher in understanding this reality, the more other fire creation beings can be a distraction for you if they are not doing the real deep work. So that was one of my recent experience and process that I wanted to share. I'm sure it resonates with many of you. I've had many similar experiences in the past. It's always new and original, because if you're dealing with someone who is real, they have a real specific signature to them. So their style is going to be really unique. And that's why it's so easy to fall for any type, like one of the many templates of covert handling here, because they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of templates, either from the spiritless or from the fire creation beings here. And it's also great for me to journal, as long as this is fresh in my mind, because I know that in 1 year from now, I'm going to be happy to listen again and tune again to my now process. So that's a great way to document our journey here, because a lot is being wiped. So this really helps.